This is my latest iteration in, it's actually my first iteration, but it probably won't be the first video that I put out. My latest iteration in things I'd want to know about me if I found me playlist. And it's also for people who want a quick fire way to figure out if they're interested in this channel or not, is to watch a video from this playlist to see like, who is this guy and would I get a beer with him if I drank? So one thing, a test that I love and transformed my understanding of myself in a couple of important ways is the Big Five personality test. And the Big Five personality test is statistically derived, not theoretically derived, which makes it very unique among a lot of personality tests, and is also empirically backed to quite a degree, more so than the Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, astrology, surprise, surprise, and yeah, things of that nature. So if you like those tests, then this would be a good one to take. I would recommend the one that I took from the website understandmyself.com, made in part by one of my heroes, Jordan B. Peterson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain my results and also explain a bit about each aspect. There are 5, spoiler alert, and I'm going to talk about some interesting things about it at the end as well. So I will be doing some reading in my notes, but don't worry, as always, I'll keep the notes right next to the camera so it looks like I'm talking to you personally. You can feel good about that. And we'll go from there. The first trait is agreeableness, which is the primary dimension of interpersonal interaction. So I'm just going to read the expression. People high in agreeableness are nice, compliant, nurturing, kind, naively trusting, and conciliatory. However, because of the tendency to avoid conflict, they often dissemble and hide whatever they think. People low in agreeableness are not so nice. They are stubborn, dominant, harsh, skeptical, competitive, and in the extreme, even predatory. Oof. Careful of those people. However, they tend to be straightforward and blunt, so you know where they stand. So if they're a predator, at least they'll be honest that they're a predator, in which case that helps in some sense. So my score on that was 54%. So as in, if there were 100 people in a room, I would be more agreeable than 54 of them, 53 of them. So pretty much in the middle, you know. But the nice thing about this test is that each trait is broken down into 2 subtraits. And that's when things can get interesting, because if you look at my score, 54, my score is 54, it sounds average. But if you look at the subtraits, it splits into 2, one of which is called compassion, one of which is called politeness. And my compassion score is 91, which means I really, really care about people's pain. And my politeness score is 9, which means I don't care if my opinion causes more pain in a certain sense, if I think it's true. I won't say it deliberately to cause pain, but if I won't be shy to voice what I think in seemingly obscene circumstances where it is very much not appropriate. And to anyone who I've ever dated in the past, you know what I'm talking about. So that was really good for me to know about myself, because it explains why I get along with so many people and why I get into so many arguments. You're lucky that it's only me talking, otherwise it would be many hours of disagreeing with a big smile on my face. And that's basically my day-to-day life. So that's agreeableness. Next score, conscientiousness, the primary dimension of dutiful achievement. Conscientiousness is a measure of obligation, attention to detail, hard work, persistence, cleanliness, efficiency, and adherence to rules, standards, and processes. Conscientious people implement their plans and establish and maintain order. People moderately low and conscientious, this is what I got. People moderately low and conscientious are not particularly dutiful. They are by no means sloggers. They will only work hard if pushed. There's a little cutoff in the edge there. And don't mind wasting time. They are quite likely to procrastinate. Sorry, took me a while to make this. That makes sense. Particularly if they are also above average in neuroticism. We'll get to that. If people with moderately low levels of conscientiousness commit to doing something, there is a good chance they will be late, or delayed, even if there isn't much reason for it. Well, there's always a reason. It's because there's so much fun stuff to do. You get distracted. They tend to find and deliver excuses for their failure under such circumstances. They are not markedly decisive, neat, organized, future-oriented, or reliable, and they find themselves easily distracted. Ooh, what's that? So I got 23% on that, which is low, but once again, broken down into two categories. Industriousness is 64, and orderliness is 5. So my industriousness is above average, but not that high. 64 isn't that high. My orderliness is low. But in the last year, I took this about a year ago, I have made a marked effort to change this about myself. I've become much more orderly. My room is much cleaner now. JBP would be proud. I am definitely taking stock of my life in a lot more logical, linear way, and it has amazing results, but it is very against the grain in my personality, and I will often unconsciously sabotage these efforts because something cool looks shiny for a little while. And I'm working on that. This is part of growing up. The nice thing about conscientiousness is that it correlates with age, and it increases as people get older, which is more or less the same thing of what I just said. So my score being 23% is compared to the population without taking age into account. And I'm young. I'm 26 at the moment. This was 25 when I took this. I think I was 25, maybe even 24. And so it has already gone up, I'm sure, and will continue to rise as I get older. And so I expect that I might make it all the way to 30% out of 100 by the time I'm dead. So we'll see how that goes. The next trait, extraversion, the primary dimension of positive emotion. People with exceptionally high levels of extraversion are extremely enthusiastic, talkative, assertive in social situations, and gregarious. They are unusually energized by social contact and crave it. It's true. They take exceptional pleasure in planning parties, telling jokes, making people laugh, taking part in community activities. They are extremely likely to have positive memories of the past, high levels of current self-esteem, currently, or particularly if they are low in neuroticism, we'll get to that later, and tremendous optimism about the future. Now, I got 99% out of 100, which means I'm the highest score possible on extraversion, which shouldn't surprise anyone if you know me. It's scientifically proven to be the poster child of extraversion, and that's true through and through. It's not like I'm a secret introvert that is actually not really like this and has learned to fake it, as some people do, and I commend them for that skill. It's very impressive. I am not like that. This is just how I am. I got 99%, which is broken down, once again, to two categories, enthusiasm and assertiveness. 99 on enthusiasm, once again, high score, baby, and 94 on assertiveness, which means I'm not quite as much of a jerk about my enthusiasm as I could be, but still a lot. I really am. So that's my extraversion. It's happy-go-lucky, almost to the point of it being a disorder, and that's, I'm not even kidding. Neuroticism, the primary dimension of negative emotion. Darkness. People with low levels. Oh, so this test is interesting. It didn't actually show me what extroversion is like when it's low. I imagine it's just the opposite of when it's high. So not enthusiastic, not talkative, not assertive in social situations, not very gregarious. Everything I just said, just add a negative sign in front of. You get the point. Neuroticism, so I'm going to try to translate this into what neuroticism is. So instead of people with low levels, people with high levels of neuroticism often focus on negative elements, anxieties, and uncertainties of the past, present, and future. It is very common for them to face periods where they are unhappy, anxious, and irritable, especially if they're facing a serious, sustained, complex problem. Even under the latter conditions, they don't cope. It's hard to translate this into negative, but you get the point. So high neuroticism, high negative emotion, broken down into two categories, withdrawal and volatility. Now, there is benefit, obviously, to neuroticism. You become very sensitive to danger and sensitive to problems that could arise. I'm a risk taker, for sure. I jumped off rooftops on a skateboard for fun with no helmet as a child, because what could go wrong? High neuroticism person would not do that because they really like the structural integrity of their head remaining intact, whereas, I could take it or leave it, apparently. So I got 6% in neuroticism, which is low. Very, very low. Once again, I would argue almost a disorder, broken down into two categories, withdrawal and volatility, or withdrawality, if you really want to stick them together like that. I got 4 on withdrawal, and I got 11, if that's the right sign language for that, in volatility. So basically, good luck, put me in a bad mood, it will not work. Unless you really, really hurt my feelings, but I'll probably understand because my compassion's 91, but I'll probably be a jerk and tell you that I didn't like it because my politeness is 9. So that's that one. The next trait, openness, the primary dimension of creativity, artistic interest, and intelligence. People with exceptionally high levels of openness to experience are almost always characterized by others as extremely smart, creative, exploratory, intelligent, and visionary. What can I say? They are extremely interested in learning and talking and are constantly acquiring new abilities and skills. They are extremely curious and exploratory. They are exceptionally interested in abstract thinking, philosophy, and the meaning of belief systems and ideologies. They live for cultural events such as movies, concerts, dancing, recitals, plays, poetry readings, gallery openings, and art shows. They are very likely to enjoy writing and are often even to be driven to, I'm not sure what that says because it got cut off, driven to write they are. They enjoy complex, abstract ideas and deeply love to confront and solve complex, abstract, and multi-dimensional problems. So I got 98 out of 100 on that. Once again, a disorder, way too high, probably for my own good. I can get wrapped up in conversations about the intricacies of subtle philosophy that I barely understand for 10 hours straight into the night to the point where my voice is gone and everyone else has long given up of trying to get a word in edgewise. And I'll still keep going because I can't help it. 98%, baby. So I got 98%. It broken into 2 categories, openness to experience and intellect. Intellect is not to be confused with IQ. I'll read what it says there. Intellect is the measure of interest in abstract ideas, essentially, while IQ is a measure of processing speed, verbal ability, working memory, and problem-solving capacity, and is better measured with a formal IQ test. That's what IQ is. So it's perfectly possible to have a high IQ and a low score on trait intellect, and the reverse. I don't know what my IQ is. I imagine it's over 80. So hopefully we'll here's hoping when I finally take that test. But my openness to experience came out to 98 and my intellect came out to 97. So YouTubing in this sense of what I'm doing is, and in the way I do it, is an exact expression of my personality. Super extroverted, almost dangerously so, because I'm trying to talk to everybody at the same time, which is a lot. And I talk about all these ideas, and you will very likely see me even moderately annoyed. There you go. And I will tell you my opinion strongly because my politeness is 9%. So that's my big 5 results. They were really fascinating to me, first and foremost, because it showed me scientifically validated that I am a bit of a freak. I'm very, very high and or very, very low on these scores. None of them are average except for like 2 or 3 of them. And those are offset heavily by other subcategories within those traits. So that showed me that I am a terrible measuring stick for trying to understand, quote unquote, the average person. And if I ever meet the average person out there, it'll be fascinating to ask them questions. I've not met one yet, but yeah, that gave me a lot of pause to be like, oh, maybe I'm not able to relate and understand people as well as I thought I should be able to. And maybe I shouldn't expect people to conform to my way of thinking about things because I am a statistical anomaly in like 5 different dimensions. So made me feel like a special snowflake, and also made me feel like I should think twice before judging someone else's thought processes, because it's essentially like different personalities are speaking different languages. And the very interesting aspect of this, which I was fascinated to learn, is political correlation. And this is a little controversial. Some people might like this part, some people might not, but gear up because sometimes truth hurts. Conservatism is correlated with high conscientiousness and low openness. Liberalism is the inverse, high openness, low conscientiousness. So chances are it's a pretty decent correlation, although it's not a perfect correlation. If you are high in one of those, you are probably low in the other. And whichever one you are high in will correlate with your general political leanings better than any other trait we have found thus far. And that was interesting to know, although I don't know if that actually accounts for the rapidity of the modern changing political landscape, because I would not consider myself of the left really by any means, and I am also 99% in in openness. And so that is now obviously it's anecdotal. I am one counterpoint to that data, and I'm sure if you had 1,000 people with a score similar to mine, you would see a trend. But it is interesting to wonder why I departed from that. And I'm not particularly on the right either. I'm politically homeless, as we say, which is a great way of saying that I don't even know what I am. And so that this gave me some clarity to see that not only do I have a personality-based home base politically, but that I actually have fallen out of it. And maybe my openness is too high to the point where I can't even pick a category, because that is something that would happen to someone with openness. So take this test. It's fascinating. You'll love it. You might not, actually, because it can be kind of harsh. Some of these tests say deliberately, don't get hurt feelings if you don't like your score, but this is how it is. These correlate with job appropriateness. They correlate with relationship satisfaction according to your partner's tests. Some pairings are better than others. And it can just be a really good way to learn about how you're different than a lot of people, and how your description of yourself and your style of communicating might actually be more or less unintelligible to someone with a different matrix than you have. And so enjoy it. I'll link to it down below. Of course, check out that work. The one I'll link to does cost like $20 or something from the one I took. Worth it, 100%, if you like to know about yourself. Yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. If you want to post your results down below, it'd be fascinating to see the skew of audience that I eventually accrue and see what they're like. So good luck. Have fun.